Okay, so this is the video of number 7 that I told you that I would have for you so that you can see how to find an endpoint given one of the midpoints and one endpoint. So if you take a look at number 7 says the midpoint of M of ST has coordinates 3, 6. Point S has coordinates 1, 2. What are the coordinates of point T? Explain how you determined your answer. So again, we are given the midpoint and we are given one endpoint, and we have to go and find the other endpoint. And I'm going to show you how to do that with an equation, the same equation that you used to find the midpoint, that formula. So I'm going to start with the midpoint formula. Again, in the prompt, it told us that the midpoint was at 3, 6. It said that S is at 1, 2. And it said that T is the one that we are trying to find. So I first need to set up my equation. So the midpoint formula that we found was x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So what I need to do is I need to actually set up an equation for both the x values and the y values, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. The first thing that you should do, just like we did in the one problem before, is to label the points. So M we know is our midpoint. I'm going to name that M with a little tiny x. So that tells me that that is the x value of the midpoint. I'm going to name this 6 M with a little tiny y, because that tells me that that is the y coordinate of the midpoint. The next one that I'm going to label is S. S is our first endpoint. So we're going to name that x1, y1. And the last one is T. So I'm going to name that x2, y2, which is already labeled, but I'm going to label it again. Hopefully you can see my colors and how I have it all separated so that you can see what I'm going to exactly plug into the formula. So this is the formula that I want you to use. The formula that I want you to use for each coordinate is this. So we have M, let's use the right color. So for the x value of the midpoint, we're going to set that equal to the x value of the midpoint. We have x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And now we're just going to plug in all the information that we need to find the second endpoint. So we know that our x value of the midpoint is the x value that they gave us, which is 3. So I'm going to plug in 3. And I know that that is going to be equal to the x1. x1 we labeled as 1. Plus my x2. Well, my x2, I don't have it, but I still plug it in as x2. I'm going to divide that by 2. At this point in time, I need to solve this equation for x2. So I have to do those algebraic properties of equality so that I can get x2 by itself. So in order to solve for x2, I need to get this right here by itself. So that means I have to first get rid of the denominator. That's a hard word for me to say. So the denominator is 2. So because it's being divided, I have to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the denominator. So what happens here is this 2 goes away and that 2 goes away, and I'm left with 1 plus x2. x2 has now gotten rid of that 2 that was being divided by, and we're closer to getting x2 by itself. But we can't forget about the left side. We still have that 2 times 3. Well, 2 times 3 is 6, and that's going to be equal to the 1 plus x2. Again, trying to get x2 by itself, I need to get rid of what's not in that x, in that square. What's not in the square is the 1. I have to do the opposite of positive 1, which is to subtract 1. And whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do the same thing to the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 1 from the 6. In the end, 6 minus 1 is 5. I got rid of this 1 here, and that's going to be equal to x2. So the x-coordinate of the second endpoint, which is t, is 5. So our ordered pair, if we want to go ahead and start it, is going to be 5. If I can write it correctly. Comma. Now I have to find that y2 coordinate. It's going to be up to you to follow this exact same process